Yo, what's up, everybody? My first go live. You guys are in for a treat today. This is my second video in one day. But I probably won't post again until next week, so you get two to hold you over until next week. So today's topic is going to be on the introduction of the origin of the letter J. A lot of people ask me, why do I use the name Yeshua for Jesus instead of the name Jesus? And since I don't know what's going on with that, but like I was saying, as I my Hebrew journey, I have come to learn a lot of good information. One of the things that I learned is that um, in the Hebrew Bible, uh, his name or his Hebrew name, because again, we really, I think we really lose sight of the fact that the Messiah is a Jewish Messiah, that he was born to a Jewish mother, he lived in a Jewish culture. He was, you know what I'm saying? We totally lose sight of that. You know what I'm saying? The Jews were his chosen people. We were just blessed to be grafted in because of their refusal to accept him as the coming Messiah. You know what I'm saying? So we're basically like on the coattail of the Jews because they are his chosen people, always have been. But nonetheless, um, his name, his Hebrew name, is Yeshua. Okay. And so one of the questions that I had to look up is I was like, okay, well, if his name is Yeshua, where did the name Jesus come from? Because everybody says Jesus. I mean, over here is Jesus, 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 and all that kind of stuff. So what I want to read to you is what I found out about the letter J, first of all. Okay. Now keep in mind that Yeshua or Jesus walked the earth over 2,000 years ago. Okay. So let's get into this. History reveals that the letter J did not exist about 500 years ago. One of the most asked questions of the century: how can the Messiah's name be Jesus if the letter J did not exist 500 years ago? When did the letter J come into existence? And is it accurate to say that the Messiah's name is indeed Jesus? The Messiah walked on the earth about 2,000 years ago. If the letter and sound of J did not exist when the Messiah walked on this earth, what was his name, and when did the letter and the sound J come into existence? In the English alphabet, the letter J originally was used for the letter I. The first distinguished the difference between the letter J and the letter I was in Gian Giorgio, in his 1524 Trinciano Epistola del Trisoni de Letter Nuovamente. It's a whole bunch of Italian stuff. I'm not going to read all that. But the key point was that it was in 1524 when the letter J was officially introduced. So if the letter J was introduced in 1524 and Yeshua was born 3 BC, how in the world could his name be Jesus if the letter J is not even 1,000 years old? It doesn't even flow. And a lot of people say that, well, we use that name or we use the J. What's some of the more common arguments? Well, that's just his English what it translates to. And it's like, well, no, because here's what a lot of people don't, and this is going to be a goodie. Where is it at? This is oh my God, I just had it. I'm sorry. Mm, oh, this is talking about Yehoshua in the Hebrew Bible. Thus, it can be concluded that in post-exilic times of the biblical era, the names Yeshua and Yehoshua were regarded as equivalent. Now, here's the thing: Yehoshua is translated in English as Joshua. So, if Yehoshua or Yeshua is the equivalent of Yehoshua, then how is it Joshua is Joshua, but Yeshua is Jesus? You see what I'm saying? Yeshua and Yehoshua are pretty much the same thing. It's kind of like Michael, you know, but we'll translate Yehoshua as Joshua and Yeshua as Jesus. It doesn't flow. You know what I'm saying? So that being the case, it kind of makes you kind of wonder, like, okay, and so that's the big question. If these two names, Yehoshua and Yeshua, are the same, then how are they translated to two different names in English? That's like translating Mike to one thing and Michael to something else. They're both the same thing. You understand what I'm saying? So that being the case, to call him uh, Jesus really doesn't flow. Now, here's the thing. When the Bible was translated from the Hebrew to the Greeks did not have the letter J either. So for the Greeks, his name was Iesus. And when you get down to the time that King James was getting ready to authorize his famous King James Version, you know, it was still Iesus. And matter of fact, I think in one of his earlier translations, you see Iesus. But then shortly thereafter, you see Jesus. You see what I'm saying? So it came on the scene after the fact. So they translated, Yeshua was translated from Yeshua to Iesus, and then from Iesus to English, you know, with the introduction of the letter J. So that being the case, when you look at it, yes, you can call him Jesus if you want to. That's your prerogative. But the thing comes down to it that when you look at the name aspect of it, here's the thing. If his name is Yeshua, you know what I'm saying? But, or I'll say it this way. Let's say if your name is Elizabeth, and I'm like, well, I come from another culture, so Elizabeth is translated to Linda, so I'm just going to call you Linda. Now, and I use a woman as an example because I mean, most women, if you call them by the wrong name, it's just not going to go well. You know what I'm saying? So that being the case, just imagine you told somebody your name is Elizabeth, but they're going around calling you Linda. You know what I'm saying? Would you want to answer to that? How would you respond to that? You know what I'm saying? And so that being the case, that's kind of how I look at it with the name Yeshua. You know what I'm saying? And see, when we translate the name from Yeshua to Jesus, in essence, what we're also doing is removing the Jewishness from the Messiah and Americanizing him because of the fact that your name is Yeshua and you're a Jewish Messiah. But since you're a Messiah for us as well, we want to make you more cultural towards us. So we're going to change your name and give you this name because this is our equivalent to you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, why would you change his name? It really doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? But again, like I said, I think um, because it's been in our culture for so very long and we've become accustomed to it, it's kind of hard to accept the reality that, well, it might be wrong. So it's easy for us to say, well, but Jesus is the equivalent. But, well, how could Jesus be the equivalent if, you know, the jail only 500 years old? How could Jesus be the equivalent if Yeshua and Yehoshua are pretty much interchangeable and we translate Yehoshua to Joshua? So if Yehoshua translates to Joshua, then shouldn't Yeshua be translated to Joshua as well? So Joshua will be more, but even that still is questionable because of the fact that, again, you know what I'm saying, the letter J is only 500 years old. But whatever you would translate Joshua to or Yehoshua to, you have to translate Yeshua to the exact same thing. But again, you have a whole issue with the letter J. So the letter J really messes up a lot of things. But in our culture, I believe that we have been brainwashed, I would say, and I hate that, but I can't think of a softer term, but we've been brainwashed to use the name Jesus because of the fact that, I mean, it's just culturally correct for us. But like I said, at the same time, you know, and then my question is this. If I was to go to Israel and I met a guy over there and I'm talking to him, he asks, what's your name? And I said, Michael. Is he going to say, okay, well, Michael, we're going to call you Michael because that's how we say Michael in Hebrew? Or is he going to call me Michael? He's going to call me Michael because I introduced myself to him as Michael. So even though my name translated in Hebrew is Michael, my name was given to me as Michael, so he's going to call me Michael, and vice versa. If he came here from another country and says my name is Yehoshua, I'm not going to say, well, Yehoshua translates to Joshua, so I'm going to call you Joshua because that's not what his mother named him. His mother named him Yehoshua. So then I'm kind of like, okay, if that be the case, if we don't translate or transliterate other people's names as we meet them, then why are we transliterating the Lord's name? So I think inadvertently, what we're doing is removing the Jewishness from the Messiah by Americanizing him and making him like an American God when he's the God of everyone. You know what I'm saying? He's one God. Messiah Ahad, one God. You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to be one people. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, our culture really has worked hard to separate the Jewishness of the Messiah from from or the Jewishness from the Messiah, basically. You know what I'm saying? And Americanize him pretty much, or Europeanize him by doing so. And I think the roots of that traces all the way back. So I want it's like the 3rd century AD. You know what I'm saying? During the time of Constantine and all this kind of stuff, with all the anti-Semitism. And I believe that a lot of anti-Semitism, from a lot of the reading that I've been privy to, a lot of articles that I read, books that I've read, I see there is a lot of traces of anti-Semitism, through Rome, because a lot of our theology as believers today is Roman based. Pretty much everything that's core belief for us is Roman. We have more Romanism in our faith than we have Hebrewism in our faith, because everything we do is based off of what Rome said we should do and not off what the Messiah said we should do. And so our justification to that is, well, we're not Jews. And it's like, yes, that's true. But isn't it the same God of the Israelites, the God of the Jews, I mean, the God of the Gentiles as well? So if it's one God, then why are we trying to make him two? And I think what we have to do as a people is begin to realize that we're one. And because we're one, begin to try to break this separation between the Christians and the Jews. Because contrary to what we believe, there are a lot of Messianic Jews. And these Messianic Jews are what we call over here Christians, except they're Jewish Christians. You know what I'm saying? So that being the case, how are we going to separate ourselves from the Messianic Jews? Because they believe the exact same way we do, except they have the culture in the background, whereas we don't. You know what I'm saying? So we can't. We have to begin to break this wall of separation that separates us from the them, making it us as and them's when it's not. Because when Messiah comes back, matter of fact, one of the promises about his return, he says, I'm not going to return until the people of Israel say, blessed is he that comes in the name of the Lord. When they begin to profess that as a people, that's when the Bible says he's going to return. So his return is predicated on them. You understand? So because it's predicated on them, and then Paul talks about how we're grafted into them to be part of the election. It says so that when we become believers in the Messiah, we're styled as Jews. We're spiritual Jews. We're part of that election, that inheritance. We're co-heirs with him. But how can we be co-heirs with him if he's Jewish and his people are Jewish, but we're like, well, we're Americans? It doesn't flow. You know what I'm saying? So I think that we really have to rethink our theology in terms of this separatism theology that we have, where we separate ourselves from them. Because to be honest, you can't have Christianity without Judaism. And what I mean by that is that when Yeshua walked the earth, he read from, he taught from, and he lived the Torah, which was what we call the Old Testament. There was no such thing as a New Testament, the authorized King James Version, none of that. He lived that. You understand? So that being the case, looking at it from that perspective, if that's what he lived, that's what he walked, that's what he was all about, you know what I'm saying? You look at us, you know what I'm saying? That applies to us as well. So we have to break that separatism thought, because everything he taught in the New Testament was basically better explaining the Old Testament. You understand? So that being the case, and that's where we come in at, But like I said, he taught that. He pointed that out and made that more clear to us and everything. So the core doctrine of the Christian faith is stemmed in the Hebrew roots. We have to take our Christianity back to the Hebrew roots, because that's the strength of it. And like I said, the life is in the roots. You take a tree without no roots to plant it, it's just going to topple over. You have to have the roots, and the roots are dug deep. So Christianity and the Jews, you know what I'm saying, they're dug in. Now the thing about Judaism, modern Judaism, they don't know that Yeshua was the Messiah. That's where they missed the boat at. But that was to our benefit, because they did that, that opened the door for us as Gentiles to be able to come in and be part of this election. So that was to our benefit, not to get up there and say, hi, y'all Jews, y'all messed it up, we got this. Because a lot of teachers, a lot of pastors preach a separatism a doctrine that's like, we're the new Jerusalem, we're the new chosen people. And it's like, no, they've always been his chosen people. And when he steps back, when he comes back the second time, he says he's going to step down on Mount Olives. And guess where Mount Olives is at? It's not in DC. It's in Jerusalem. When he sets up his holy city, his holy throne and everything like that, to reign on the throne of David, it's going to be there, not here. You know what I'm saying? And when we are in the millennial kingdom age, guess what? We're going up there, because that's where he's at. You know what I'm saying? So we have to get this mindset out that we're separated from the Jews because, like I said, the Jews have always been his chosen people. They have always been the ones. And we're able to be grafted in and be part of them so that we might be one people. You understand? So that's kind of where that comes from. So I just want to kind of do a teaching on that. Really, like I said, my focus was on the letter J, so I don't know why I went into the other avenue, but that was like a little tidbit for you. I have so many other goodies for you guys in the future and everything. I'm just really excited about this and all the other teachings that are coming up. I have to go through my notes. I have, oh my God, I have so many notes. So I got to go through and put all my stuff together so I can present it to you. But when you see it, I promise you, your minds are going to be blown. I am so excited about this Bible Study 2.2. Do me a favor, while you're looking at this video, down below, there's a button that says subscribe. Subscribe to my page. And so that way I don't have to send you an email or a text telling you every time that I post a video. And then you could just get an email notification from YouTube telling you that I posted a new video and you can see everything that I post. And do me a favor, tell your friends and your friends' friends, because I really want this to blow up, because I really do feel that in these last days that this is a teaching, or these teachings that God has blessed me to learn, to dig, and to find out are something he wants the church age to begin to understand and know. And I believe there's a huge movement of people that God is waking up to this, that are coming back to the Hebrew roots, beginning to understand that, you know what I'm saying, you can't have Christianity without the Hebrew roots. And there's so many people waking up to this movement. And I believe that God is a purpose behind it. And I believe he wants everybody to get this, because that understanding, that mentality, that unity we have to have, because right now there's division, and there's not supposed to be division. You know what I'm saying? Because again, we're supposed to be all one. Anyway, that's all I got. I'm at 17 minutes. Pow, I'm killing it. Trying to keep my stuff under 20 minutes. So you guys have a blessed day, and I will talk to you when I talk to you. Bow. Yeah, and that's it. Ooh. Now I gotta figure out how to stop this one. That's funny.